Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's video we've got my little project that was born of junk. Basically the idea with this truck was to take all the leftover bits from restorations I've done or trucks I've parted out or just things laying around in bins that are not being used and are probably not going to be used because they're not really good enough for anything. So I made an amalgamation of all of those parts until I had enough to assemble a truck, and that's what you see in front of you. So we'll start off with the body. This is a Lowe's comp crawler or night crawler body, I guess. It was painted like shit brown originally with the windows tinted as you see them now, and it was just this massive nothing. It just looked like a brown blob. The side skirts on it were in really rough shape. It had other holes in it from being mounted on a different truck. And just overall, it was not very nice shape. So I trimmed off the damaged sections, re-arched the fenders a little bit, raised up the bumper and the hood line a little bit, and gave it a repaint. So that's what it turned out like. I just hit it with a base of gray, and then once the gray was like on there as a primer, I did the red, coated the entire truck in gold, and then I applied the circuit style masks here. This was just using my Cricut, and then from there painted it red, and then from there added the black, and then sanded it all down to the desired effect. Pulled the masks off, and that's what we were left with. Turned out pretty cool. I've been calling this truck Bob, B.O.B, for bucket of bolts. And I couldn't think of a paint theme, and I had the colors to do Iron Man, and I was like, hey, Bob, Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, yeah, close enough. So that's the body. And here is the truck. So let's start on the bottom as usual. So first things first, the axles. I bought these cheap off eBay. I think I won the auction for like 50 something bucks. They did spin freely, but they were pretty noisy, so I went through them. And I did have to replace a couple bearings. Some were seized, but I tried to reuse what I can. Or what I could, just because, like I said, trying to do this as a junk build. So the rear axle, I think I maybe only replaced one bearing in there. Cleaned it right out, re-greased it, and it got an AliExpress underdrive. And the reason for that is they fit so bad, or at least some do. Some are decent, some are horrible. Really depends on the batch you get, but that gave me 10% underdrive and a through pin for the drive shaft, so that was a win, and it was a part that I wasn't really going to use somewhere else because it was pretty low quality. The front axle, I had to replace a couple more bearings, and that was about it. When we flip the truck to the front, I'll show you there's a few more things I changed, but internally all I did was change a couple bearings. Okay, the next big dealio here we've got is the skid. So this is actually a Ridgecrest or Ax10 deadbolt skid. Now this narrows it up significantly from a normal Ax10. I believe these are 70, and I think the stock Ax10 is like 78 or 80. So which is just nice. Like it tightens up the chassis, almost makes it more like an SWX, but it kind of makes a few challenges along the way. One of those being it's also shorter this way, so you have to run a bit of a longer link to get to your normal wheelbase. And then the other thing being the transmission isn't really designed to fit in that narrow of a space. So once we look at the chassis, I'll show you that there had to be some modifications going on to allow that. You'll notice there's only 3 screws holding the gearbox in. It's the worst 3-gear aluminum gearbox I had laying around, and that hole's stripped out, so 3 screws it is. The drive shafts are actually decent, or they were decent for the time. They are MIPs, but they're kind of heavy and they got this bulbous end on them, so I wasn't really jazzed on putting them in any high performance rig, so they fit the bill here. They got through pins on the pinion side on front and back, but they are just grub screwed to the gearbox. Okay, I think that is enough for the bottom. Let's have a look at that front axle we were talking about here. So it has really cheap aluminum C-hubs, and it had aluminum high steer knuckles, but the bearings were completely seized in them, and I could not get them out for the life of me, and I ended up just damaging them. So it ended up getting just some stock used plastic axial knuckles mounted to those aluminum C's, and it does have brass bushings, which it had, where those axles had when I got them off eBay, so that was nice. You can see I had to do some shaving here to try to maximize steer angle, and the screws are countersunk, which I did that as well. The dog bones too were quite rusty and disgusting, and you can kind of see there's like a shiny edge on them here. I actually cleaned those up with sandpaper because someone had modified them to gain steering angle at one point, and they were pretty rusty and gross, so I stuck with them just because it does allow a bit more angle, but they were pretty crusty, so they're all nice now. I guess we should talk about the links, because we're looking, this is just like Axial's 106 and 33 mil aluminum links, and the links under here are all Axial as well. You'll just notice that they're raw finish aluminum. So I had a bunch of random used links, and they were different colors. Like these were orange, the uppers were green. I had one silver front, one green upper. I think these were dark gray. So I didn't want it to be all mismatched, so I did the easy off trick. Soaked all those in easy off to remove the anodizing, and yeah. Just because it's junk doesn't mean you can't put in a little extra effort just to try to make it look decent. The front is 4-linked. You can see here it has an SCX10 4-link bar, but there's no sides on it because it was a chopped down one that someone had used on a different project. So again, I wasn't going to use that on one of my nicer trucks, so it kind of worked here. And I just put 2 zip ties here and here, as well as the through bolts there and there to secure that. And the servo mount is actually carbon fiber. That came with the axles as well, but it's homemade and it's a little shoddy, but does the job. The rear also got the SCX10 4-link bar. This came with the axle, which was nice. You can see it's been shaved down for some reason on a previous build, so fit the bill here. And had to do some interesting spacers to try to get my pinion angle right. I did that front and back. I think, yeah, you can see there's spacers in there as well. So that about covers that. I guess the next thing would be the chassis. So these rails I got with a different Ax10 a while back, and they had been drilled out really aggressively. Like there's usually 3 separate holes here on each side, and somebody took like a Dremel and oblonged them out, and because of that I never really wanted to use them on a nice truck. They had also drilled these out to 4 or 5 mil, so the body posts wouldn't be proper, which I didn't like. So they kind of ended up being perfect rails for this, because I had to, as you see here, I had to make a notch to clear the motor plate because of that skinny new skid. It would come in contact, so I had to notch that out on this side. And then on the opposite side here, you can see the base of the gearbox would have done the same thing, would have hit the cross brace that comes here. So I just cut that out, V-notched it, cleaned it up, made for the clearance. Normally I wouldn't like chopping up original Ax10 rails like that, but like I said, these ones are pretty rough, so it didn't matter. And because these were drilled out to 4 or 5 mil, I put braces in here, 4 mil braces that the body mounts screw through, so that really strengthened up the chassis and worked to keep the body mount solid as well. The gearbox is, it's an aluminum housing. I don't know who made it. It was once one half was green, one half was silver. I tried to deanodize it. It kind of came out okay, but there's still some green showing there. It is a pretty garbage gearbox. The outdrives are pretty chewed up. Inside, it looks like Freddy Krueger tried to attack it, where the bearing pockets go in the one spot. They're all wallered out, so it's got a little bit of up and down play in the spur gear, which is like par for the course for an Amazon gearbox, but whatever, it's fine. One nice new part it does have, it did get a Incision 56 tooth spur gear and a Venom spur gear mount, as well as I think it got an RRP. Yeah, it's got an RRP pinion gear as well, so it's got a couple good parts. The next thing I had to do was, because the chassis was narrowed down, I couldn't use the factory battery mount because it's so much skinnier. Plus, I didn't have the standoffs that are supposed to mount the factory plate anyways. Not that they'd work with the narrowed width, so I had to make my own battery plate. So I just cut this up out of 16th inch aluminum and used just some square standoffs that had threaded bosses in them. I think those are actually from a Mias Gold Rush kit. Screwed those in there, so that worked pretty good. And at the same time when I did that, I put a flap off the front, so that would give me a place to mount the receiver. And you can see in there, the ESC is tucked on the back side of that as well. So on the note of electronics, you probably just seen in there that ESC is a Hobbywing 1080, and you're like, well, that's not junk. And I would have to agree with you, it's not. But this one, the previous owner had accidentally, I'm assuming accidentally, broke the tabs that you use to program it. So I have zero way to program this ESC. I have no idea what any of the settings are, to be honest. So it really wasn't useful in a truck I care about, but it worked fine in this scenario. Judging by how quick the servo is, I'm thinking the BEC is set to 7.4 volts, but I haven't confirmed that. Speaking of servo, this is actually an expensive servo, and it was kind of a bougie servo back in the day. The high-tech HS7955TG. It's really noisy, but I think it's pretty torquey. It might be 350 ounce inches, which for a 20-year-old servo, can't complain. The reason I used it is because like I said, it's really noisy. I didn't have another home for it, and I don't like that they need like the little proprietary screw and horn and whatever. So it worked fine in this truck, plenty of torque. The receiver, as you can see, is a decased radio link. It was a broken receiver a friend of mine gave me, like the case was broken on it, so it was just, I don't know, sort of kind of useless. So I just covered it in shoe goo in behind it and in front of it and just glued it right to that plate. And yeah, it works out. I connected a RG6, I guess, to it, or RC6, whatever the hell they're called. So that's not junk, but it is, but it isn't. And then last but not least is this 55-turn motor. So this came out of that ARTR slider I had gotten off eBay. It works fine, but it's a little squeaky, and they're definitely a bit of a torqueless wonder, so it fit the bill here. Keeps our rip'ems down, and yeah, does the job. I think that covers that. The only other thing I haven't mentioned chassis-wise is the shocks. So these are actually brand new takeoffs from because it'd be an SCX10 base camp builder's kit. They leak like sieves, and they're a bit of an oddball length for like my newer comp truck, so I had no purpose for them. And I kind of liked how slender they were, and they came with these little adjustable, or not adjustable, but these thicker standoffs. So they kind of just fit the bill for this truck. I wasn't going to use them on anything else. Even though they're new, they are junk. And they do the job. Because they're so short, it actually limits this truck on travel. For an Ax10, that's pretty short travel. Most of them are usually pretty crazy, so that's interesting. It definitely makes it a low rider, though. Okay, I think the last thing other than that to mention would be the wheels and tires. So these are just some old Axial, I think Rockstar wheels, plastic. They're not in fantastic shape, which is why I used them here. Colors seem to fit, and yeah, they just seemed like the right choice. The tires I got in a lot with other stuff, and the rears are actually a Losi Boss Claw that have been shaved on the side, and then some of the lugs have been modified a bit here, and they have some homemade like triple stage foams, and as you can see, I vented them there. The fronts are some type of strange cut and shut. I don't know the exact origin. I can tell you that this inner 2.2 sidewall is either from a Hot Bodies Rover or Sedona, but I'm pretty sure it's a White Dot Rover. And then these, I believe, are like a Hot Bodies buggy race tire from back in the day, but I couldn't tell you what model they are. As you can see, kind of a greasy cut and shut job, lots of grinding, and yeah, they kind of sit funky. They're not really super round anymore. So they fit the bill, but they're still decently pliable and they hook up pretty good. These also have a kind of homemade dual stage in them. So I felt like they were the right tire for the job. Plus they're pretty tall, so they kind of help out with our low ground clearance due to those short little base camp shocks. But yeah, there he is. That's Bob, born from junk. So maybe I'll have some videos of this guy running in the future, but thanks for watching, and catch you guys in the next one with another vintage truck. Bye.